We talked about the Macklin, Celebrini, Tom Wilson, Connor McDavid line, and Ryan Rishaug had an interesting point about it, saying that if you squint, you could almost imagine Nugent Hopkins and Hyman sort of like that's the roles. You know, Celebrini's playing the Nugent Hopkins role and Wilson's playing the Hyman role. Do you get that impression? Do you like that combination, those three?
I think there's such an intrigue factor of having Tom Wilson on the team and then saying, we're actually going to put you with the big dog.
It's amazing.
Right? Because Tom Wilson is a big dog.
Something shocking happened at Team Canada practice, and fans could not believe their eyes. Tom Wilson, known for hits, fights, and chaos, was skating on the top line. Yes, beside Connor McDavid and Macklin Celebrini. The biggest question exploded everywhere. Why him? What does this mean for Canada's Olympic plan? And is this a genius move or a huge risk? Team Canada's practice lines created massive buzz across the hockey world. When reporters arrived, they expected the usual superstar combinations. Fast, skilled, highlight reel players skating together. But instead, they saw Tom Wilson on the first line. He was playing with Connor McDavid, the fastest player on earth, and Macklin Celebrini, the young rising star. This was not a small change. This was a statement move.
And hasn't there always been this fascination with McDavid from the time he's come into the league? Like, he had to play with Milan Lucic at times and had to play with Zach Kassian at times, and it's like, okay, you got the best guy at doing that. So why not see if you can create a little more space for McDavid in a tournament where once you get to playing the United States or Sweden, it's not going to be much room out there. So I think it's an intrigue thing more than anything. And if you wanted Zach Hyman to play with McDavid, you could have just taken Zach.
Could have brought him.
Many fans were confused at first. Wilson is not known as a flashy scorer like McDavid. He is known for physical play, big hits, net front battles, energy shifts. Some people even questioned if this was a mistake. But hockey insiders quickly explained this decision was very intentional. The real reason comes down to balance. When you build a top line for international hockey, you do not just stack skill. You build a unit that can survive tough games. Olympic hockey is fast, but it is also heavy. Teams like USA, Sweden, and Finland bring size and pressure. Canada needed someone who could protect the puck, win battles, and create space for McDavid's speed. Think of it like bodyguards and superstars. McDavid is the superstar playmaker. Celebrini is the creative young talent. Wilson does the dirty work. He goes into corners. He stands in front of the net. He takes hits to make plays happen. This allows the skilled players to stay free and dangerous. Another big reason is playoff-style hockey. International tournaments feel like Stanley Cup playoffs. Games are tight. Space disappears. Skill alone is not enough. Coaches want players who can handle physical pressure. Wilson has years of playoff experience. He knows how to play when emotions run high. There is also chemistry value. Wilson has played with elite players before in Washington. He understands how to adjust his game beside superstars. He does not try to do too much. Instead, he supports the line, forechecking hard, retrieving pucks, and opening ice. For Celebrini, this is especially important. Celebrini is young, extremely talented, but still early in his career. Having Wilson on the line gives him protection and support. If opponents try to intimidate the rookie, Wilson is there. That safety net allows Celebrini to focus fully on offense. Connor McDavid benefits in a different way. McDavid's biggest weapon is speed through open ice, but defenders often target him physically to slow him down. With Wilson on the ice, defenders must think twice. If they focus only on McDavid, Wilson punishes them physically. That hesitation creates extra space, even half a second, which is all McDavid needs. Another factor is net front presence. International goalies are elite. You rarely beat them clean from distance. Screens, deflections, and rebounds become key scoring tools. Wilson excels at standing in front of the crease, blocking the goalie's vision and tipping shots. So while McDavid creates chances and Celebrini shoots, Wilson finishes the dirty goals. This line is built like a three-part machine: speed, skill, power. Wilson does not need to score 40 goals on this line. If he creates space, wins puck battles, and adds physical pressure, he is doing his job perfectly. International success often comes from role players supporting superstars. stars. Many past Olympic champions used power forwards beside elite scorers. These players create time and space, something that becomes rare against top nations. Canada is following a formula that has worked before. Opponents scouting Canada now must prepare for both speed and physical danger. Defenders cannot relax when Wilson is on the ice. That mental pressure causes mistakes, rushed passes, poor clears, turnovers. There is also leadership value. Wilson brings emotional fire. Celebrini brings youthful hunger. McDavid brings elite focus. Together, the line mixes experience, youth, and intensity, a powerful locker room dynamic as well. As the Olympics approach, every practice decision is analyzed closely. Canada knows expectations are massive. Gold medal or disappointment, that is the standard. So experiments like this are about finding the perfect balance before games begin. Will this line stay together? That depends on performance. If chemistry clicks, it could become one of the most dangerous lines in Olympic hockey. If not, coaches will reshuffle quickly. But one thing is certain, this was not a random move. It was a calculated strategy built on playoff toughness, puck protection, and creating space for the world's fastest player. And if it works, the rest of the hockey world may have a serious problem stopping Team Canada. Because when you mix McDavid's speed, Celebrini's skill, and Wilson's physical force, you don't just get a scoring line, you get a nightmare to play against.
Good luck, Team Canada. You've earned this moment. After long days and late nights, through discipline, sacrifice, and relentless effort, you're ready to compete at the highest level.
The wait is over. The biggest rivalry in hockey has reached the Olympic stage once again. Team Canada and Team USA arrive in Milan with full NHL rosters and clear goals. Captains are named. Lineups are set. Fans have been counting days for this moment. When Canada and the United States meet at the Olympics, history, pressure, and preparation collide.
Forward lines for Team Canada could potentially look like, but nothing set in stone yet.
Well, for me, it's Celebrini, McDavid-Wilson. I love that. I think that that's a really good line. I saw how they come together there. And the reason McDavid, who's going to have the biggest spotlight on him, he's going to shoulder a lot of the responsibility for this team, as he should, and he's ready to do. But Tommy Wilson on that right side of him.
The 2026 Winter Olympics in Milano Cortina mark a major return for international hockey. For the first time since 2014, NHL players are competing in the Olympic Games. The league paused its season to allow full participation. This decision changed the level of competition immediately. Canada arrived with a roster built from elite NHL talent, international experience, and Olympic success. Team Canada officially named its men's Olympic roster on December 31st, 2025. The team includes 25 players, all with professional experience. The roster was selected by Hockey Canada after months of evaluation. The group combines veteran leadership, playoff-tested stars, and players with past international success. Sidney Crosby was named captain of Team Canada. The decision was announced before the team traveled to Milan. Crosby has won 2 Olympic gold medals in 2010 and 2014. He scored the overtime goal that decided the gold medal game at the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. His Olympic experience spans more than a decade. Canada's leadership group also includes alternate captains drawn from top NHL teams. These players have logged hundreds of playoff games. Several have worn the maple leaf in world championships and best-on-best tournaments. This structure gives Canada stability on the ice and clarity in decision-making during high-pressure moments. The Canadian roster is built around depth. Every line includes players who contribute at both ends of the ice. Defense pairs include puck-moving defensemen and physical shutdown players. Goaltending selections were based on recent NHL performance and international results. Hockey Canada confirmed that balance and consistency guided the final selections. Team USA also finalized its roster ahead of the games. USA Hockey selected a mix of veteran NHL players and younger skaters with recent international experience. The American roster emphasizes speed and transition play. Several players come from teams known for fast-paced systems in the NHL. Despite the strength of the U.S. lineup, Canada enters the matchup with historical advantage. Canada and the United States have faced each other multiple times in Olympic men's hockey. Canada won the gold medal game in 2010 and defeated the United States in the semifinals in 2014. Those games were decided by narrow margins. The Olympic schedule placed Canada and the United States in the same preliminary preliminary round group. This guarantees a group stage meeting before the knockout rounds. Group placement affects seeding and quarterfinal matchups. A win provides a measurable advantage in the tournament structure. Team Canada arrived in Milan following the NHL Olympic break. Players traveled within days of their last league game. Practices were held at Santa Giulia Arena. Coaching staff focused on adapting to international ice size and IIHF rules. These rules differ from the NHL in areas such as icing, overtime, and physical play. Canada's coaching staff, led by John Cooper, set clear expectations before the tournament. Cooper stated publicly that the goal was a gold medal. The message reflected Canada's approach to Olympic hockey. Performance standards were defined before the first practice. In the lead-up to the Olympic group stage meeting, players from both sides addressed the rivalry. The statement was published in international coverage ahead of the game. Canada's preparation emphasized discipline and structure. Practices focused on special teams, execution, and defensive zone coverage. Coaching staff monitored player workload due to the quick transition from NHL play to Olympic competition. The Canadian roster includes multiple players with over 100 NHL playoff games. Several have won Stanley Cups. This experience is critical in short tournaments where mistakes carry immediate consequences. Team USA's roster includes players who recently competed in IIHF World Championships. USA Hockey stated that roster balance and defensive depth were priorities. Their preparation focused on speed through the neutral zone and quick puck movement. Olympic group standings are decided by points, goal differential, and head-to-head results. The Canada-USA game directly affects these metrics. A timing of the matchup adds pressure. The game takes place early in the tournament, shortly after both teams' opening win. Analysts noted that early results often influence confidence and tactical adjustments in later rounds. Broadcasters projected increased viewership based on previous Olympic meetings. Security and staffing were increased for the game due to expected attendance and media presence. Olympic officials confirmed additional measures for high-profile rivalry matchups. Statistical tracking after the opening games showed Canada near the top of the tournament in shots allowed and face-off percentage. These metrics were released in official Olympic summaries. Canada's roster stability contrasts with the rapid pace of Olympic scheduling. With lines and pairings established early, the team minimized experimentation. This approach reflected confidence in roster selection. The Canada-USA Olympic matchup does not decide a medal. It does not eliminate either team. It shapes the path forward. It defines standing, seeding, and momentum as the tournament progresses. For Team Canada, the objective remains unchanged. Preparation, depth, leadership, and execution guide every decision as the rivalry resumes on Olympic ice in Milan.
On this Sunday night, after a 12-year break, NHL players return to the Olympics.
Excited to be here, definitely.
With Olympic gold on the line, Sidney Crosby is named Team Canada captain.
Two captains were chosen, and Olympic hockey changed instantly. One decision came from the United States. The other came from Canada. NHL players are back after 12 years away, and leadership is now locked in. What happens next will shape every game, every matchup, and every medal race that follows. The Olympic men's ice hockey tournament in Milan entered a new phase after leadership announcements from the two most watched teams. The United States named Austin Matthews as captain. Canada named Sidney Crosby. Both decisions were confirmed by national federations and reported by Reuters. The appointments came days before competition began, with NHL players returning to the Olympics for the first time since 2014, and attention quickly followed. USA Hockey announced that Matthews will lead the American roster at the Milano Cortina 2026 Winter Game. The decision kept the same leadership group used during the Four Nations Face-Off tournament earlier this year. Charlie McAvoy and Matthew Tkachuk were also named alternate captains. That group represented the United States in a tournament that ended with a loss to Canada in the final, and the structure now carries into Olympic play. Matthews is 28 years old and plays center for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Before leaving for Olympic duty, he recorded 26 goals and 22 assists in 51 NHL games this season. USA Hockey confirmed that this will be Matthews' first Olympic appearance as team captain. Team officials stated that the leadership group was selected based on previous international experience and recent tournament roles, and the announcement came shortly after the team arrived in Milan. The United States held its first on-ice practice at the Santa Giulia Arena, the primary venue for the men's tournament. According to tournament schedules released by Olympic organizers, Team USA will open group play against Latvia. Practices were held with full NHL participation participation, marking the league's official return to Olympic competition after a 12-year absence. On the same day, Hockey Canada confirmed its captain. Sidney Crosby was named to lead the Canadian men's team. Crosby is 38 years old and plays center for the Pittsburgh Penguins. This will be his third Olympic game. He previously captained Canada at the 2014 Winter Olympics and scored the gold medal winning goal at the 2010 Games in Vancouver, a moment referenced repeatedly in official coverage. Hockey Canada stated that the trio had already worked together during the Four Nations Face-Off tournament, and the structure was maintained heading into the Olympics. Canada's roster was finalized in late December after an initial 6-player announcement earlier in the year. Both teams arrived in Milan within days of the announcements. NHL players from across the league joined national camps as Olympic competition approached. With captains now confirmed, attention shifted from roster selection to performance, and the tournament moved closer to its opening face-offs. The leadership announcements also highlighted the broader shift taking place inside Olympic hockey. NHL participation returned after the league reached agreements allowing players to compete in the Winter Games for the first time since 2014. According to NHL and Olympic officials, 148 NHL players are participating in the men's tournament in Milan, with more than 120 making their Olympic debut. That return reshaped team expectations immediately. On the American side, USA Hockey emphasized stability. According to Reuters, team management viewed recent international chemistry as a factor in maintaining the same structure entering Olympic play. The United States men's team has not won Olympic gold since 1980. That fact has been referenced repeatedly in coverage surrounding the NHL's return. With Matthews leading the roster, Team USA Open preparations focused on international ice dimensions, rule adjustments, and condensed scheduling. Practices in Milan followed a compressed timeline as teams adjusted quickly. Olympic officials confirmed that fighting is prohibited under international rule, consistent with past Olympic tournaments. NHL players entering the games were briefed on officiating standards, penalties, and discipline policies ahead of competition. That adjustment applied to all teams equally as tournament play approached. Canada and the United States were placed in separate preliminary groups, meaning a potential meeting would only occur during elimination rounds. Schedules released by organizers showed both teams facing multiple opponents before advancing to quarterfinal play. Seeding and point totals from group matches will determine advancement. As the tournament moved closer to its opening games, team arrivals, practices, and leadership confirmations dominated coverage. NHL players settled into Olympic villages and training facilities. With captains named and rosters locked, the focus shifted away from selection and toward results, and the next phase of Olympic hockey officially began.
The Oilers poured it on, but come out empty-handed, lose their third straight into the break for Edmonton.
I don't know. There's many things that are part of it. Not consistent enough. Can't defend. Penalty kill is not great. We're just giving up too many goals. I think there's saves that our goalies need to make at some point. This league's too hard, to just like lollygag through games. You need everybody. It starts with coaches. You're never going to win if you have 4 or 5 guys going. It starts at the top. We can be better. Our leaders can be better. We're not the same team. We're not as good right now. We're not even close. We need to understand that. It's time. Obviously, there's a break now, but when we come back, we gotta get going.
Something feels off in Edmonton. The Oilers walked into the Olympic break carrying more than just losses. Back-to-back defeats, a rivalry loss at home, public frustration from inside the locker room, numbers that no contender wants attached to their season. The break arrived, but the problems did not stop, and what surfaced in the final games raised concerns that cannot be ignored. The Edmonton Oilers reached the Olympic break after consecutive losses that followed the same pattern. The most recent defeat came against the Calgary Flames in the Battle of Alberta. Edmonton scored early and stayed close, but the game turned late. Calgary scored the deciding goal in the final period, and the Oilers could not respond before time expired. Leon Draisaitl scored twice in that game, providing most of Edmonton's offense. Kasperi Kapanen also found the net. Calgary received scoring from multiple players, including the goal that settled the game. The Oilers allowed key chances late, and Calgary goaltender Devin Cooley stopped repeated attempts during the final push. That loss followed a defeat against the Toronto Maple Leafs at home. Toronto controlled long stretches of play and scored several times from different players. Edmonton managed goals from Jake Wallman and Kasperi Kapanen, but the response ended early. After falling behind, the Oilers struggled to regain momentum and spent long periods defending. Across these games, the same issues appeared. Edmonton allowed goals at critical moments. Defensive coverage broke down near the net. Opponents converted on special teams. These problems were not isolated to one game. They continued through the final stretch before the break. The Oilers' penalty kill declined during the